A good morning and a good afternoon and a good evening to you all who are joining me here today. Um, my name is Penny Babas and I'm the founder and director at Linkages Empowerment Center. Linkages is a social enterprise that is based in Uganda, supporting women and youth in rural areas to access finance, business training and coaching, and the technology they need to start and run successful local businesses in the different communities where they live. It is my first time to be here today, and I'm very happy that I'm here joining all of you during this Financial Inclusion Week to discuss a topic that is not only close to my heart, but also important for my country and the future of Africa. And my topic today is empowering rural women and youth through access to finance, the path to economic inclusion in Uganda. Today, we're going to explore how providing tailored financial solutions can drive economic growth and build inclusive communities. Focusing on the challenges that rural women face, I'll highlight some of the strategies that I believe can bridge the gap between financial institutions and these marginalized groups of people, with a hope that we'll together find a good reason to recommit to walking this journey of finding durable solutions for long-term empowerment and economic transformation in our respective countries. So I'll go ahead and ask what I believe is the most important question for today as we go along. So, what is the importance of financial inclusion? This is a question that many of us ask ourselves. Sometimes we find answers to these questions, and sometimes we don't find the full answers. For a lot of people who live in rural communities in Uganda, and these are people who are often excluded from traditional financial systems, for them, financial inclusion is a lifetime. Because from where they sit, being able to access credit is the only opportunity they have left to live a productive life and a meaningful life to participate in a story of Uganda's economic growth. So this is how important financial inclusion is for many people who live in rural areas, and particularly those who are unable to access finance. As important this might sound, there are still many challenges that makes it very difficult for these people to access finance. The big one for me is limited access to credit. For the case of Uganda, over 80% of women living in rural areas lack access to affordable credit to start a business of their choice. And the history to this challenge is that in many Ugandan traditions, and this could be true for many other African countries, women do not inherit property from their parents or after the death of a spouse or a husband. And then we also have many young people drop out of school at an early age due to poverty-related challenges like lack of school fees. Yet, for a person to be able to access a credit from a traditional financial institution like a commercial bank or any other microfinance institutions to start a business, that person, and this is the women, these are the women we are talking about today, they must have land as collateral, which many women and young people in rural Uganda do not own. So as a result of this, these women and young people are left behind, and their potential for growth and empowerment remains untapped till after today. The second challenge that I can speak to right now is low financial literacy rates. As we know, financial literacy is another big one, particularly in different rural areas where we operate. Much as we understand that access to credit is important, we also know that it is just only one part of the equation. For example, we are working in 5 districts across Uganda, and many women that we find on a daily basis, they lack the basic understanding of a lot of many financial products, such as savings accounts, insurance, and loans. Then we also know that they struggle with a lot of with most of the fundamental business skills like bookkeeping, loan management, household budgeting, sales and marketing. So without these important key skills, they continue to fail to leverage on the financial resources to improve their livelihoods and grow their businesses, which again makes it very difficult. And that's why capacity building in terms of financial literacy, business training, and coaching is an important aspect of our work. The third, the third challenge, and by no means the least, is inadequate technology infrastructures. This is also a huge one because access to digital financial services such as mobile money and online banking is still limited in many rural areas across Uganda due to poor internet connectivity and also the fact that many rural women don't have access to smartphones. So in many ways, this makes banking expensive as most women spend a lot of money on transport, like using border borders. And in Uganda, border borders are one of the most quickest and fastest means of transport to access remote communities in different parts of the country. So this makes it very expensive to access banking in major towns. So I'll straight away go to um, what we have at the moment as some of the successful models that are currently being used in Uganda in terms of access to finance. So despite all these challenges that I've just mentioned, we still have some successful financial inclusion models that have emerged and are truly transforming the lives of women and young people in Uganda and across Africa. The first one, and this is what we are using as linkages to roll out our access to finance programs, is the Village Savings and Loans Associations. This is a model where individuals, especially women within the same geographical area, come together to save and borrow money as a group to help them start small businesses with an aim of meeting basic needs such as shelter, food, healthcare, and education for their children. Typically, one VSLA consists 25 members, and over 90% of these are usually women. So in Uganda alone, we have been successful in utilizing the power of group lending as an alternative to collateral to access credit. This is the same model we are using at Linkages to extend credit to all our entrepreneurs in the 5 districts where we operate. As of September this year, we are working, for example, as of September this year, we are working with a total of 38 VSLAs with over 500 women and youth accessing credit without collateral. This has been a big win for us since we started 3 years ago. And what is unique about this model is that it has consistently achieved over 90% on loan repayment in the last 3 years. And compared to what happens with many other microfinance institutions, 90% on loan repayment is really a high one, and this continue to to strengthen us to continue making sure that the VSLA model works to increase access to credit for women and the youth that we work with in rural areas. The other model that is very successful in extending credit as a financial model is mobile money platforms. Mobile money platforms have significantly revolutionized financial inclusion across Africa. And in Uganda, we have platforms like MTN Mobile Money and Airtel Money, which have empowered thousands of rural women to send, receive, and save money using mobile phones without the need to have a traditional bank account. I will again use an example of linkages to give more context to this financial inclusion model, the mobile money platforms. When we started implementing the VSLA model 3 years ago, one of the major challenges that our entrepreneurs faced was lack of access to banking services for loan repayment. Typically, each VSLA had a monthly repayment of $270 US, and the fact that all these And the fact that all these VSLAs are still located in remote villages, they spend, like on average, they spend about $12 on transport just to access banking services in major towns. This was a huge burden on their part because it was very expensive for most of the people to afford. And and it was taking part of the interest and their profits that we were supposed to make. But 1 year into our program, we partnered with Stanbic Bank Uganda to introduce FlexPay, a payment platform that enables women to make loan repayments through mobile money services. Right now, as I speak, for the same amount of money, 270 loan repayment, these VSLAs are spending only $1 to make the same transaction. This was a big win for us. So using FlexPay payment option had made such a huge difference in reducing cost of transferring money from rural communities to banks. And this is one of the models that is transforming how banking services are delivered in rural communities across Uganda. The last model, which is well known to most of us, is the microfinance institutions. In Uganda, we have quite a number of microfinance institutions like Finca, BRAC, and Pride Microfinance that have been instrumental in offering low-cost loans to rural entrepreneurs, particularly women and youth. These institutions have empowered women to invest in agriculture, retail, and small-scale manufacturing, helping them to improve their livelihoods to support their families. So, with these three examples that I've given of the models that are the financial inclusion models that are successful in Uganda. So what are these? So I'm going to go into straight away to talk about what are the strategies that we can use to bridge the gap between financial institutions and rural communities. Here are some that we can use and consider in our programming at different levels. The first one is tailored financial products. When designing tailored financial products for rural women, it is important that we meet their specific needs and address the barriers they face in accessing traditional financial services. Whether it is a small enterprise like Linkages or bigger ones like BRAC, Finca, or Pride Microfinance, we must be intentional in creating solutions with low collateral loans, flexible payment plans, and group lending models that may not only require physical collateral. These products should take into account the unique challenges women experience such as lack of collateral, irregular incomes, and limited financial literacy. So I believe if we take this into account, we can truly empower women to participate in economic activities, start businesses, and improve their livelihoods to drive inclusive economic growth in rural communities. The next strategy that we can take into consideration is the capacity building and financial literacy program. This is very important in terms of our access to finance programs. When designing tailored financial products, we need to focus more on programs that equip rural women and youth with knowledge and the skills they need to effectively use credit. Financial literacy programs empower women to manage their finances, and they help them to understand the benefits of savings, loans, and insurance, which knowledge later help them to make informed financial decisions. So to make this possible, we need to have a strong partnerships between financial institutions, NGOs, and government agencies to deliver this education and ensure that women have both financial tools and the understanding they need to maximize their economic opportunities. So with this in place, we can be sure that we are on our way to unlocking their potential to drive sustainable development in their communities. The next strategy is to leverage technology. This seems to be an obvious one. Because we know that this can be a game changer for rural communities. So we need to continue encouraging financial institutions to invest in the digital infrastructures we need for these services to thrive. The next, which is the last one, but by no means the least, is the need to build partnerships with public and private sector. At this stage, we cannot ignore the need to build strong public-private partnerships when designing tailored financial products for rural women. Because these partnerships create funding opportunities, we need to expand financial services far beyond what, for example, a social enterprise like Linkages would never imagine to attain on its own. So having these collaborations with the private sector, government, and international development organizations, we can subsidize financial services and make them accessible to underserved communities. And with this, there is no doubt that these partnerships can significantly bridge the gaps in financial inclusion and at the same time create sustainable economic opportunities for rural women and young people in rural areas. So to sum it up all, I know that we can deliberately continue to address the barriers of this financial. To sum it all, if we can deliberately continue to address the barriers of access to finance for rural communities, and the potential for economic growth and social life is enormous. By focusing on tailored financial solutions, financial literacy and increased access to technology can empower rural women and young people to drive their communities forward, because their success is our success. So let us all work together to ensure that rural women have the financial tools they need to build a bright future for themselves, their families, and Uganda as a whole. Thank you very much.